Most of us grew up believing that the harder we work, the more we deserve success, respect, and recognition. And while that belief can drive ambition, it also creates a silent trap: guilt. Guilt when we pause, guilt when we slow down, guilt when we take a single day for ourselves. But here's the truth: rest is not the opposite of productivity. It's what makes it possible. The challenge is society rewards visible effort, not invisible renewal. That's why so many of us wrestle with that inner voice that whispers, "You should be working right now." Today, I want to share a different perspective. What if the very act of stepping away wasn't selfish, but an act of responsibility, both to ourselves and to the people who rely on us? Because the question isn't, can we afford to rest? The question is, can we afford not to? Rest is not the opposite of productivity, it fuels it. We have been conditioned to think that work and rest lie on opposite sides of a scale. If one goes up, the other must come down. That's why so many of us struggle with the idea of taking time off. We imagine that every hour spent away from our desk, every day we disconnect, is somehow a step back from progress. But what if that belief is fundamentally flawed? What if the energy, creativity, and clarity we bring to our work doesn't come from constant motion, but from the pauses in between? Think about athletes. No one expects a runner to train every single day without recovery. In fact, it's during the rest periods that muscles repair, grow, and become stronger. Yet, in our professional and personal lives, we often deny ourselves the same principle. We push, we grind, we stretch ourselves thin, and then we wonder why we feel burnt out, uninspired, or constantly running on empty. The truth is, our minds and bodies operate on cycles. There is work, there is rest, and both are essential to sustaining peak performance. When we choose to rest, it's not a break from responsibility, it's an investment into the quality of our output. Have you ever noticed how the best ideas come when you least expect them? While you're in the shower, out on a walk, or lying in bed about to fall asleep. That isn't coincidence. It's your brain using moments of downtime to connect dots and process information. Creativity needs space, and space is created through rest. Yet, we live in a culture that glorifies business. "I'm so busy" has become a badge of honor, as if constant activity is proof of value. But business is not the same as productivity. Activity does not equal achievement. True productivity comes when we are fully present, energized, and able to focus deeply on what matters most. And that state isn't possible if we are constantly drained. Rest fuels presence. Rest fuels energy. Rest fuels productivity. There's also a deeper psychological layer to this. Many of us attach our worth to how much we do. The more boxes we tick, the more hours we log, the more validated we feel. So when we take a step back, guilt creeps in. We fear being judged as lazy, uncommitted, or weak. But that guilt is not truth, it's conditioning. The irony is, people who give themselves permission to rest often outperform those who don't. They show up sharper, make better decisions, and create with more innovation because they are not working from exhaustion, but from renewal. Rest is not indulgence, it is strategy. It is a choice to protect the most important resource you have. You. Your mind, your energy, your creativity, your health. Just as a phone needs to recharge to keep functioning, we too need to recharge. Without it, even the most powerful devices, whether machines or humans, eventually shut down. So when you take a day off, you are not losing a day of progress, you are gaining strength for all the days that follow. Would you like me to do the same 600-word expansions for the other 5 keynotes as well, so you have a complete set ready for your speech? Guilt comes from outdated beliefs about work and worth. For generations, we've been told that the harder we work, the more deserving we are of success, respect, and recognition. That story has been passed down like an invisible script, shaping how we think about ourselves and others. It was born in an era when survival depended on physical labor, when value was measured by output, when rest was often seen as laziness. But today, in a world fueled by creativity, innovation, and connection, clinging to those outdated beliefs only traps us in cycles of stress, burnout, and shame. The feeling of guilt when taking a day off doesn't come from the act itself. It comes from the meaning we've attached to it. Somewhere deep down, we've internalized the belief that if we're not working, we're not worthy. That belief may have been reinforced by bosses who praised long hours, by parents who admired endless sacrifice, or by peers who compared success based on hustle. Over time, we began to equate our self-worth with our productivity. But human value was never meant to be measured by hours worked. Our worth comes from who we are, not just what we do. Consider how children learn. They don't grow by grinding themselves endlessly. They grow through a mix of activity and rest, through play, curiosity, exploration, and downtime. As adults, we forget that this balance is still essential. Instead, we over-identify with the work we do, and when we pause, we feel as though we've lost part of ourselves. This is why guilt creeps in. It is not a reflection of laziness, but a conflict between who we are and what we were taught to believe. When we challenge those outdated beliefs, something powerful happens. We begin to see that taking time off doesn't make us less committed, less capable, or less valuable. It makes us more human. It makes us more resilient. And in many cases, it makes us more effective. Because the truth is, guilt serves no productive purpose. It drains energy, clouds judgment, and prevents us from fully enjoying the moments meant to restore us. When we rest with guilt, it isn't real rest at all. It's half rest, half anxiety. Releasing that guilt requires a shift in perspective. Imagine two people working side by side. One pushes through exhaustion, staying late, fueled by fear of falling behind. The other takes a break, returns refreshed, and solves the problem in half the time. Who is truly more productive? The one who equates time with worth, or the one who understands that energy and clarity matter more than sheer effort? Productivity in the modern world is not about hours, it's about outcomes. It's about bringing your best self, not your most depleted self. The danger of holding on to outdated beliefs is that they become invisible barriers. We no longer question them. We simply obey them. But when we shine a light on them, we realize they no longer serve us. We don't live in factories of the industrial age. We live in an era where ideas, creativity, and human connection are the driving forces of progress. And none of these thrive in exhaustion. They thrive in environments where people feel free to recharge, reflect, and return stronger. So the next time guilt whispers that you don't deserve a day off, remember this, that guilt isn't the truth. It's just an echo of an old story that no longer fits the life we're building today. The choice to rest is not a failure of commitment. It's a refusal to let outdated beliefs dictate our worth. Do you want me to continue with WAS? Keynote 3 expanded to 600 words as well. Renewal makes us more effective leaders, partners, and creators. Too often, we assume that effectiveness comes from constant effort, from pushing harder, from proving our dedication by never stopping. Yet, when we look closely at the moments that have shaped our greatest achievements, they rarely come from sheer grind alone. They come from clarity, from perspective, from sparks of creativity that often emerge after we have stepped away. Renewal is the invisible fuel behind our ability to lead, to connect, and to create with impact. Leadership is not just about being present in every meeting or responding to every email. True leadership is about vision, decision-making, and the ability to inspire. These qualities do not thrive in exhaustion. A leader who never rests becomes reactive rather than proactive, short-tempered rather than patient, and scattered rather than focused. But a leader who understands the power of renewal shows up with clarity, energy, and the presence to make decisions that benefit everyone. Renewal is not about absence from responsibility. It's about preparing ourselves to handle responsibility with wisdom and strength. As partners, whether in families, friendships, or communities, renewal matters just as much. Relationships require attention, empathy, and patience. When we are running on empty, it's easy to snap at the people we care about, to withdraw emotionally, or to miss the small moments that matter most. Renewal allows us to be fully present, to listen deeply, and to engage meaningfully. Taking time to recharge isn't abandoning the people we love. It's ensuring that when we are with them, they get our best selves, not the leftovers of our energy. For creators, renewal is perhaps the most vital ingredient of all. Creativity doesn't come from pressure alone, it comes from space. The brain makes its most innovative connections during rest, reflection, and play. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in art, science, and business have emerged not during long hours at the desk, but in moments of stillness, walks in nature, or unexpected pauses. When we deny ourselves renewal, we suffocate creativity. When we embrace it, we open the door to inspiration. Renewal is not a distraction from creative work. It is the soil in which it grows. The mistake many of us make is thinking that time off takes us away from effectiveness, when in reality, it magnifies it. Imagine two versions of yourself, one that pushes endlessly without rest, and one that takes time to recharge. The first may put in more hours, but the second will bring sharper focus, more innovative thinking, and a stronger ability to lead and connect. Which version of you would your team, your family, or your community rather have? Which version is more effective in the long run? The answer is obvious. Renewal doesn't reduce effectiveness, it multiplies it. It's also important to remember that renewal isn't only about physical rest. It's about emotional and mental rest, too. It's about stepping away from the noise to reflect, to reset, and to realign with what matters. It might look like meditation, spending time in nature, reading a book, or simply allowing yourself a quiet day without obligations. These moments don't take you away from your role as a leader, partner, or creator. They strengthen it. They bring you back centered, focused, and ready to give your best. Renewal is not optional. It is essential. It is the very thing that transforms effort into impact. It is what allows leaders to inspire, partners to connect, and creators to innovate. Without it, we are simply running faster on a wheel that goes nowhere. With it, we move forward with purpose, energy, and influence that lasts. Do you want me to continue with Kinotify expanded into 600 words? Taking a day off is an act of responsibility, not selfishness. We often see rest as a luxury, something we can only afford once all the work is done, once the deadlines are met, once everyone else's needs are taken care of. But the truth is, the work is never done. There will always be another task, another meeting, another demand waiting for your attention. If you wait until everything is complete before you allow yourself to rest, you may never stop. This is why reframing rest as responsibility is so important. It isn't about indulgence, it's about sustainability. Think about what happens when we push ourselves without pause. Our focus starts to slip. Small mistakes creep in. Decisions take longer, creativity dwindles, and even our patience with the people around us wears thin. In that state, we're not bringing our best selves to our work, our families, or our communities. We're simply showing up depleted, running on fumes, hoping no one notices. And while it might look like commitment on the surface, it's actually negligence. Because when we deny ourselves rest, we deny others the very best of who we are. Responsibility isn't only about meeting deadlines or delivering results. It's also about ensuring that we can keep doing it tomorrow, next week, and next year. Rest is the maintenance that allows us to function. Just like you would never drive a car endlessly without stopping for fuel or service, we cannot drive ourselves endlessly without care. Eventually, neglect catches up. Exhaustion leads to burnout, stress leads to illness, and disconnection leads to broken relationships. Taking a day off isn't selfish. It's preventative care for your body, your mind, and the people who rely on you. There's also a deeper truth about responsibility. It includes modeling behavior for others. In workplaces, when leaders never take time off, employees learn to hide their own need for rest. In families, when parents never pause, children learn that constant sacrifice is the only acceptable way to live. But when we take a day off without apology, we send a powerful message: it's okay to prioritize well-being. It's okay to recharge. It's okay to be human. That act of courage ripples outwards, giving others permission to do the same. We must remember that the quality of our contributions matters more than the quantity of our hours. A rested mind brings sharper ideas, a calmer perspective, and a stronger sense of empathy. A rested body brings resilience and energy. When we choose to take a day off, we're not stepping away from our responsibilities, we're stepping into them more fully. Because responsibility is not about being present every second. It's about being present in the moments that matter most. For many, the word selfish carries heavy weight. It feels wrong to put ourselves first, even briefly. But selfishness is about taking more than you need at the expense of others. Rest is not taking from others. It is giving to yourself so that you can give more fully to others later. A person who runs empty cannot pour into others. A person who never pauses cannot sustain the pace. Responsibility means knowing your limits and caring for yourself so you can honor your commitments long term. When you choose to rest, you're making a declaration: I care enough about my work, my relationships, and my future to protect my capacity to serve them well. That is not selfish. That is leadership. That is responsibility. That is how you ensure that what you give is not the scraps of your energy, but the best of your potential. Do you want me to keep going with Wes' Keynote 4 expanded into 600 words? Society rewards effort, but true value comes from balance. From a young age, many of us are taught that the harder we work, the more successful we'll be. We see people praised for late nights at the office, for never missing a day, for sacrificing personal time in the name of commitment. It becomes easy to equate visibility of effort with worth. The person who stays the longest must be the most dedicated. The one who skips vacations must be the most loyal. The one who answers emails at midnight must be the most ambitious. But beneath the surface, this culture of constant effort often masks exhaustion, disconnection, and declining effectiveness. The truth is, society has built a system that overvalues effort we can see and undervalues the unseen benefits of rest, reflection, and balance. A person sitting at their desk for 12 hours may look productive, but are they really producing their best work? Compare that with someone who takes time to recharge, who spends fewer hours but works with clarity, creativity, and focus. Which one creates more value? The answer is clear. It is not effort alone that matters. It is the balance that allows effort to be meaningful. Balance is not about doing less or abandoning responsibility. Balance is about aligning time, energy, and focus in a way that sustains performance and well-being over the long term. Think of it like music. A song isn't just noise, it's a deliberate balance of sound and silence. Without the pauses, without the rhythm, it becomes chaos. Our lives are no different. Continuous effort without balance doesn't create harmony, it creates burnout. And burnout benefits no one, not the individual, not their family, not their workplace, not society. What society often fails to celebrate are the invisible moments that fuel visible results. No one claps when you take an afternoon nap, when you go for a walk, or when you turn off your phone for the evening. Yet those moments are often the ones that give you the strength, perspective, and clarity to perform at your best when it counts. Balance creates resilience, and resilience creates sustainable achievement. Without balance, achievement is fragile and temporary. With balance, it becomes steady and lasting. We must also recognize that the obsession with effort alone is deeply tied to identity. Many people fear that if they don't appear busy, they won't be respected. But the most respected individuals in any field are not those who burn themselves out for appearances. They are the ones who bring consistent value, wisdom, and clarity. They know when to push and when to pause. They don't mistake movement for progress or exhaustion for accomplishment. They understand that balance doesn't diminish their dedication, it amplifies it. When we shift from valuing effort alone to valuing balance, everything changes. Workplaces become healthier, relationships become stronger, and individuals become more fulfilled. People no longer feel they have to choose between success and well-being. They understand that the two are inseparable. A balanced person has the capacity to be innovative, empathetic, and resilient. An unbalanced person may appear busy, but beneath the surface, they are often running on empty. The challenge is that balance is harder to measure than effort. It's easy to count hours worked, but difficult to quantify mental clarity or emotional presence. And yet, these are the very qualities that create the most impact. This is why we must learn to define success differently, not as endless output, but as meaningful contribution fueled by balance. True value comes not from how much time we sacrifice, but from how fully we can show up when it matters most. Balance is not weakness. Balance is wisdom. It is the understanding that life is not a sprint, but a marathon, and that value comes not from burning out quickly, but from sustaining our ability to contribute over time. Effort matters, yes, but effort without balance eventually collapses. Balance is what gives effort its power. Do you want me to move on and expand Keynote T6 into 600 words as well? The question isn't, can we afford to rest? It's, can we afford not to? For many people, rest feels like a luxury, something extra, something optional that should be earned only after everything else is done. The problem is that in our fast-moving world, everything is never done. There is always one more email to answer, one more task to complete, one more obligation to fulfill. If we wait until the perfect moment to rest, that moment will never come. So the real question we should be asking isn't whether we can spare the time to rest. It's whether we can survive and thrive without it. When we skip rest, the cost is invisible at first. We might get through the day, the week, or even the month without noticing much difference. But gradually, the effects begin to accumulate. Focus starts to fade. Patience wears thin. Small mistakes multiply. Creativity dries up, and eventually burnout creeps in quietly, stealing not just our energy, but our passion and joy as well. That cost is far higher than the cost of a single day off. What looks like productivity in the short term becomes unsustainable over time. Ask yourself this: what happens if you keep going without stopping? What happens to your work, your health, your relationships, your sense of purpose? The truth is, the people who need you most don't need you exhausted, distracted, or half present. They need you energized, attentive, and capable of giving your best. Taking time to rest is not a withdrawal from your responsibilities. It's a deposit into your ability to meet them. In that sense, rest is not a cost at all. It's an investment. We often treat rest as though it's separate from achievement, as though we're pausing life when we take a day off. But rest is part of achievement. It is the reset button that allows us to keep moving forward with clarity and strength. Athletes understand this principle well. They know that rest days are part of training, not a break from it. Without them, the body breaks down. The same is true for our minds and spirits. Rest doesn't delay progress, it enables it. The fear behind the question, can I afford to rest, is usually rooted in comparison. We worry that while we're pausing, someone else is moving ahead, getting more done, pulling further in front. But success is not a race against others. It is the ability to sustain our own path and live in alignment with what matters most. If someone runs faster but collapses before the finish line, does that really count as success? Rest ensures that we don't just start strong, but also finish strong. We should also remember that rest is not just about us. When we refuse to rest, we often end up taking from others without realizing it. We give them less patience, less kindness, less focus, less energy. Our families, our colleagues, and our communities all feel the ripple effects of our exhaustion. But when we choose to rest, the benefits extend outward too. We return with energy to contribute, with perspective to solve problems, and with presence to truly connect. The question, then, isn't just what happens if we don't rest. It's what happens to everyone around us if we don't. The shift comes when we stop seeing rest as selfish and start seeing it as essential. Instead of asking, do I deserve to rest? Or can I afford it? We begin asking, what is the cost of not resting? The answer is always higher than we think. Lost health, lost creativity, lost relationships, lost opportunities. Those are prices no one wants to pay. Rest is not something to fit in when convenient. It is a necessity, a responsibility, and the foundation of long-term success. The question has never been whether we can afford it. The question is, can we really afford to live without it? Would you like me to combine all 6 expanded keynotes into a single, polished keynote style speech for you?